What if I told you that some of the biggest moments in sports history were built on a foundation of lies? That the heroes you cheered for and the victories you celebrated were part of a massive cover-up? Today, we're pulling back the curtain to reveal the greatest sports scandals that were desperately hidden from the fans. These aren't just about cheating, they're stories of deception, power, and secrets that rocked the world of sports to its very core. From rigged games to institutional cover-ups, you won't believe what they tried to keep from you. Let's start in the world of cycling, with a name everyone knows, Lance Armstrong. For years, he was more than an athlete. He was a global icon, a cancer survivor who conquered the toughest race on earth, the Tour de France, an incredible 7 consecutive times. His story was one of pure inspiration, but behind this fairy tale was one of the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping programs the sport had ever seen, for over a decade. Armstrong and his U.S. Postal Service team used a cocktail of performance-enhancing drugs, including EPO and testosterone, all while evading hundreds of drug tests. The cover-up was immense. Armstrong wasn't just a participant, he was the ringleader. He bullied teammates into doping, silenced critics with lawsuits and intimidation, and created a powerful network that protected him at all costs. The U.S. anti-doping agency called it the most sophisticated doping program in sports history. When the truth finally came out in 2012, it wasn't just a fall from grace, it was the demolition of a myth. Armstrong was stripped of all his titles, and the hero the world thought they knew was revealed to be a fraud. The scandal exposed the dark underbelly of cycling and left fans questioning everything they had believed. Next, we travel to the soccer pitch, specifically to Italy in 2006. This scandal was so big it got its own name, Calciopoli. Imagine this, just as Italy is about to win the World Cup, their entire domestic league, Serie A, is engulfed in a massive match-fixing conspiracy. It turned out that top club officials, including those from giants like Juventus, AC Milan, and Lazio, were secretly influencing which referees were assigned to their games. Transcripts of phone calls were leaked, revealing powerful team managers handpicking favorable officials to ensure their teams won. The ringleader was Luciano Maggi, the general manager of Juventus. He was the puppet master, pulling the strings behind the scenes. The scandal wasn't about bribing players to miss a goal, it was a systemic corruption of the entire refereeing system. When the dust settled, the punishments were severe. Juventus was stripped of 2 league titles and relegated to the second division for the first time in their history. Other top clubs faced point deductions and fines. It was a scandal that exposed a deep-rooted corruption at the heart of Italian football, leaving fans betrayed and questioning the integrity of every match they had ever watched. Now, let's step onto the ice for a story that is as tragic as it is scandalous. In 2010, the NHL was rocked by the death of Derek Boogaard, one of the league's toughest enforcers. Known as the Boogeyman, his job was to fight, to protect his star teammates by absorbing and delivering brutal blows to the head. He died at just 28 from an accidental overdose of painkillers and alcohol while recovering from yet another concussion. His death pulled back the curtain on a hidden crisis within the NHL, the devastating long-term effects of head trauma. After his death, Boogaard's family donated his brain to science. The findings were shocking. He had advanced chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CT, a degenerative brain disease caused by repeated head injuries. The damage was far worse than doctors expected for someone so young. This wasn't an isolated incident. The scandal grew as more former players came forward with stories of depression, memory loss, and other neurological problems, all linked to the concussions they sustained while playing. For years, the league had downplayed the connection between fighting, concussions, and long-term brain damage. Boogaard's death became a flashpoint, forcing the NHL to confront a health crisis it had long tried to keep in the shadows. It raised uncomfortable questions about the league's responsibility to protect its players from the very violence it promoted as entertainment. Let's head to the baseball diamond for our next scandal, one that struck at the very heart of America's pastime, the steroid era. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, baseball was experiencing a renaissance. Home run records were not just being broken, they were being obliterated. Superstars like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds were hitting balls farther and more frequently than ever before. Fans were electrified. It seemed like a golden age for the sport. But it was all a lie, fueled by anabolic steroids. This wasn't just a few rogue players. It was a widespread epidemic. For years, Major League Baseball and the Players' Union turned a blind eye. There was no effective drug testing policy, and a code of silence kept everyone from talking. The league was enjoying the massive profits and soaring TV ratings that the home run chase brought in. Why would they want to stop it? The scandal was finally blown open by the Balco investigation, which uncovered a lab that was supplying undetectable steroids to dozens of high-profile athletes. Leaked grand jury testimony and books like Game of Shadows exposed the truth. When Congress stepped in and held public hearings, the game's biggest stars were forced to testify, creating the unforgettable image of Mark McGwire repeatedly saying, "I'm not here to talk about the past." The steroid era tainted an entire generation of players, shattered records, and left a permanent asterisk in the history books, betraying the trust of millions of fans. Finally, we go back to the Olympic Games, the pinnacle of athletic achievement, for a scandal that involved state-sponsored cheating on an unprecedented scale. We're talking about the Russian doping scandal. For years, there were whispers and suspicions, but it all came to a head after the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, held in Russia's own backyard. Dr. Grigory Rodchenkov, the former director of Russia's anti-doping laboratory, became a whistleblower and revealed a shocking truth. He detailed an elaborate state-run system designed to help Russian athletes cheat their way to victory. Here's how it worked. During the Sochi Games, Russian intelligence agents and anti-doping officials would work in the dead of night. They would swap out athletes' tainted urine samples for clean, pre-collected urine through a literal hole in the wall of the supposedly secure testing lab. This allowed doped-up athletes to pass their tests and compete. The operation was meticulously planned and executed, involving hundreds of athletes across dozens of sports over many years. When the World Anti-Doping Agency investigated, they confirmed the existence of a deep-seated institutional conspiracy. As a result, Russia was hit with sanctions, including being banned from officially competing in subsequent Olympic Games. This wasn't just a few athletes trying to gain an edge, it was a nation-state corrupting the spirit of the Olympics, turning a celebration of human achievement into a carefully orchestrated fraud. From rigged games and secret drug programs to systemic cover-ups of life-threatening injuries, these scandals show that the world of sports is not always what it seems. They remind us that behind the glory and the spectacle, there can be a dark side of deceit and corruption. What's the biggest sports cover-up you've ever heard of? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like and subscribe for more.